Hello, and welcome to the latest edition of Anna Lowe's video series. Today, I'll talk about making audiobooks from an author's point of view. Audio is great because you can listen when you commute, when you cook, or when you go for a walk. And making an audiobook sounds easy, right? You just read the book out loud, or so it would seem. In reality, there's a lot that goes into making an audiobook, and a lot more than just narrating it. The starting point is always having a story that's totally finished and ready to go. But you don't narrate a story the same way you read one. So I go over the book's manuscript and edit it so it's more like a script. For example, in audio, you don't need as many dialogue cues like he laughed or she sighed, because the narrator can actually act that out. Of course, I do have to leave the cues in for the narrator to know how to deliver a line, but I trim as many as possible. The other tricky part is how to signal passages with internal dialogue, especially when there's spoken dialogue at the same time. My shifter characters don't just talk out loud, they talk to their shifter sides and to packmates with a form of telepathy that's marked by italics in a book. But if you don't watch out, it won't be clear in the audio version in terms of who said or thought what. So I usually have to add a little prompt in the audio to make that clear. Here's an example from my upcoming book, Lure of the Dragon, in which the dragon hero, Kai, is communicating to his cousin, Silas, without Tessa, the heroine, being able to hear their private conversation because she's not a shifter. Silas gave Kai a dubious look. "Come on, she's barely over the shock," Kai said in a private aside. "It's just as much of a puzzle to her as to us. Let's give her a little time." Silas's fiery eyes darted from Kai to Tessa and back. Finally, he gave a slow nod and murmured, "Just be careful." So that's just one example of the kinds of small changes I have to make to the manuscript. But preparing the script is only one part of the process. Things get really interesting when it comes to actually narrating and producing a book. I love writing, but I'm not much of an actress, and I don't have the technical equipment or know-how to make a high-quality recording. Plus, I think if I tried to record anything longer than 2 minutes, the dog would bark or my kids would be heard messing around in the background. So to create an audiobook that really mesmerizes an audience, I have to hire a professional narrator. And wow, did that really open my eyes to a whole new world, the world of professional narrating. Narrators might do everything from TV commercials to lines for video games to entire books. It's a huge industry in itself, just like writing is. And luckily, there's a website called ACX where authors and narrators can link up. The author posts a sample of their book and opens the listing up to auditions. That's the interesting part because you get all kinds of different auditions with different takes. The cool thing is you can specify what kind of voice you're looking for, such as male or female, which is always hard to decide, especially in a book with male and female characters. You can also specify whether you're looking for a voice that's younger or older, or what kind of intonation, like peppy, funny, or moody, for example, and what kind of accent, from Southern US to British English, and much more. Even so, auditions can vary a lot. I initially took 2 weeks to consider a variety of auditions before finally deciding on my current narrator, the amazing Kelsey Osborne. She has such a smooth, clear voice that's just a pleasure to listen to, and she's amazing at making emotions come through loud and clear without overdoing things. It's a real art. What you're hearing right now is my real voice, the real voice of Anna Lowe. But when you listen to one of my audio clips, you'll hear Kelsey's amazing voice. So once you choose a narrator and sign a contract, you send over the whole script and the narrator starts working on it. Usually the narrator sends the author audio chapters back in batches, and then I get to listen to them. It takes a lot of time to check all the chapters, so I can only imagine how much time it takes to actually narrate them all. With a good narrator like Kelsey, it's close to perfect on the first try, but there are always little things to fix, like the tongue twisters I sometimes write without thinking about how they'll sound out loud. The tricky thing is for the narrator to work those corrections into the chapter seamlessly without re-recording the entire thing. That's when it's great to work with someone like Kelsey, who is not only good at narrating, but also at producing. I'm always amazed at how she can replace a sentence or even a single word perfectly. So the narrator or producer then uploads the final chapters to ACX, and voila, an audiobook is born. Well, there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes, but that's the gist of it from the author's point of view. Listening to my own books in audio has given me a whole new appreciation for the craft of narration. And I hope this video does that for you too. You can get more of a feel for it by listening to one of the audio samples I have posted on my YouTube channel. And if you're interested in hearing more, keep in mind that the first audiobook you buy from audible.com is free, so that's worth checking out. Most ebooks are also whisper synced these days, which means you can switch from reading to audio without flipping around to find your place. Most devices will do that for you. Anyway, I've learned a lot about audio by going through their process, and I've found a whole new way to enjoy stories on the go. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of my video series. Stay tuned for more soon.